Appreciate you, bro. How are you
Infested Vector
doing,
just
bro? How
cheered
are you doing?
100
What the
bits.
hell? Where is Infested's
I don't
face?
exist apparently.
Where
So
the
you know,
hell? Well, what the? Wow. Wow.
we were just
Oh
saying
no,
how
because your name flipping changed. Your Discord name is not is an I, so it changed. So that's why you weren't there. Well, there you go. There you go.
I'm good. I'm good. Everything's fine again. I'll start off. This isn't a very good week so far for the Yankees. So we'll see.
Well, what do you mean? They took two of three, two
They,
of three from the Dodgers. That
yes,
seems like
yes.
a pretty good week to me.
They did start the week well, but during that series, they lost their starting pitcher, Mr. Cortez. And he went to the IL today. Actually,
That is true. I just actually just saw that. We're
and
going to
then
talk about
Judge made an amazing catch, walk through a wall,
that. Yeah. Oh,
but
honestly,
he
that catch.
sprained,
We are actually.
sprained and bruised his toe.
We got to post that
And
chat. We got to post that
now
catch.
he's on IL. So like we got one of our starters, and well, Judge is so without Judge's production, it wouldn't be as much. But not having him in that lineup changes that lineup a little. So I'm hoping some other players pick it up. But like they lost on Monday to the White Sox. Not Monday. They lost on Tuesday to the White Sox. Yesterday the game got canceled because it's Canada's trying to attack the Northeast.
Yep. We're burning everything down, guys.
But no, it's but and then today they lost the first one of the doubleheader. So they've lost a series to the White Sox. Now, I know it's not the end of the world, but when you lose a series to the White Sox, especially this year,
and
it's
Josh Donaldson is your only bright spot on offense.
I told you, I can't stand Twitter fans, and I don't know why I go on, and I just and sometimes talk radio too. They crap on Donaldson all the time. Yeah, he had a bad offensive year last year, but he was still a good defensive player, and he's one of the better third basemen in the league. I don't, and that's you know that. And he does that. But this year when he was healthy and he's starting to hit well. It's one of those things where we'll see how he does. He's got a long season to do it, and I just don't see the hatred. They want to release him. Like, you're going to get a better third baseman out there. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, speaking of former Yankees, did you see who just got signed? Did you see who just got signed? Didi Gregorius has now signed a minor league deal with the Mariners.
That's cool. I mean, he's only 33.
Yeah, he had a rough couple years with Philly. If you look at his stats, his Philly years were rough.
Well, and he had peaks and stuff, and sometimes when players get to the 30s, they're not like superstars, they retire around that time because that's when they decide I can't play, and there may not be a role for them. But he's got utility person type of ability. It's not like he doesn't have the athleticism if he learns other positions.
Also, he played a lot of games. Himself. He played a lot of games when he was young. So like that's a big thing. He came up honestly, he wasn't a full-time starter until really he was, but I think he had some injuries. He was a full-time starter for the Yankees for the years he was there. But like he played really well for Philly in 2020. But just didn't play good enough in the last couple of years. But he is better option than Colton Wong. Have you seen what Colton Wong's hitting this year?
It's true. And I always liked him. I mean, the fact that he was able to go on the Yankees when he did, when Jeter left, that isn't the easiest thing to do. You are the next player after a Hall of Fame, the captain, the best player that they that he was the Yankees, and now you got the follow up, and he did well enough that not that you forgot about him, but you were like, okay, we're okay. He was consistent. And
well, he definitely played better defense than Jeter, so that was a vast improvement.
That's opinion. We'll see. So I won't say Jeter had the best range, but what Jeter had and what people don't always favor is the consistency. when he got to the balls that he could get to, he was always consistent.
But that doesn't make you a good fielder when you're letting the balls go by you.
You know, I disagree because
I'm just saying.
When Torres and some of these, you know, just any fielder, when they get hounded, it's their errors. It's not necessarily they let something through. When they're committing obvious errors. So
which is why Jeter was considered a good fielder, because he never made errors, but he also had the least amount of chances for a shortstop because he let a lot of balls go by.
I mean, he still got the Gold Glove a couple times. So are you saying the Gold Glove isn't worth it?
100%. Derek Jeter should not have won the 2009 Gold Glove. Marco Scudero was a better shortstop with better fielding ratings, who just had a lower fielding percentage, and Derek Jeter won it.
What about the other years?
There were a few years he actually was.
2004 to 2006, he was a 3-time Gold Glove. That, you know, and that's period. So
well, if we want to, I'm on it right now. Let me just post it in chat, guys. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna post this in chat. There you go. There's his baseball reference page. If you guys would like to look at that. So his standard fielding, defensive runs saved, starting in 2003 when they count it, but if you can also use a total zone fielding, was -13 in 03, -13 in 04, -27 in 05, which is why I also said that Alex Rodriguez should have been the shortstop, but because of factors, human factors, you're not going to remove Derek Jeter shortstop.
And actually I said that Jeter should have been
moved.
The one.
You should have moved to third. Exactly.
But you know, at that time, it was a weird area, and you know, you're talking about, regardless of what happened later in his career. When he first started with the Yankees, they won and they kept winning, and then they won 4 World Series and went to 5
defense wasn't the big issue for him because they had such a good team. You could get away on defense, and specifically, so now looking specifically that one season, in 2009, he was actually a +3. But the season he won a Gold Glove in 04, he definitely didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve a Gold Glove in 05. He was awful. -27 in 05.
You don't know what the other players were like.
Do you want me to look up the other players?
No, not really, because look,
we'll talk about this off stream.
So metrics were, you know,
metrics weren't in use back then.
Weren't really important back then.
Yes.
So we'll go with it.
But he was good in 09.
If you like dive in the history of baseball and go through that, and you look at some of these players that they recheck, you're talking like there's some really important players that probably shouldn't have been as
100%. Well, no, the Gold Glove is one of those things. The Gold Glove, honestly, a big talk about the Gold Glove. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. We've talked about him on this show, former Toronto Blue Jay. He has been a finals for the Gold Glove twice. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is not a good fielder. I can tell you this from personal experience. Lourdes Gurriel has an amazing arm. Now, for one season, he was extra good, and that was 2020 because it was a short season, so that was a little different. And he had some amazing plays and made some amazing catches. But him in the outfield is a trip. Is a trip. If you're an Arizona Diamondback fan, you have seen that. And so my biggest thing with the Gold Glove, the metrics don't always back up the eye test all the time, but the eye test is also subjective. Like I said, I would love to have this conversation because some of that one of those amazing plays by Derek Jeter, like, are a few of them are overhyped in my opinion, because come on, you should slide to home plate, Mr. Giambi, and the dive into the stands. He didn't need to dive into the stands.
Yeah.
Well, Josh Donaldson actually made a better play than Derek Jeter diving into the stands to saving a no-hitter.
Okay. So listen, it was against. One was in the playoffs.
Yes, both were in the playoffs. Both were in the playoffs.
Whether he didn't slide or not,
both were in the playoffs. Both were.
That call was done.
Yes.
And
it was a great flip, and it was an absolutely great flip.
You know, the call was actually correct before we even had, you know, replay too.
Yes.
Crazy to think about. Like, I don't know if that call would have been correct now. I don't know if they would have done that.
No. They probably would have called it out on the field. I think that call would have been out on the field based on him not sliding, for flip sakes. Like, if you're not going to slide, you're out.
With defensive runs scored, I have a question. I know they
Yeah.
didn't start calculating it until what, 03?
Oh,
Something
three.
like that.
Yeah.
Did anyone ever go back and actually do the
Uh,
stuff? Because I'm curious if someone like an Ozzie Smith, what their actual numbers
well, okay, so
would have
they
been.
didn't
Because Ozzie Smith had 13 Gold Gloves in a row.
they didn't use defensive run save. They used total zone fielding runs above average, which is fielding your position compared to other people in their position. Ozzie Smith is a very good point because he was also a shortstop. Also, you can I don't like to mention his name, but another great fielder, Omar Vizquel. He also had some amazing seasons. Let me just check the data. I'm on Ozzie Smith's page right now.
Well, I mean, Ozzie Smith had. I mean, if you look at the total runs above average.
Yeah, so he only has total runs because they didn't do defensive runs saved, and every single season, up until honestly, even in '94, he was a 12 in 96 games. Then the next two seasons he was 0 and 4. So his range factor was a +5 or +6 for most of the beginning of his career in the 70s to the 80s. Then he had a 4.75. These are like range factors. That's how much he can move side to side. That's how many balls he's getting that an average or below average shortstop would not get. Now the biggest reason is that's the reason why people say Derek Jeter he's a great shortstop, but wasn't good because he didn't get the balls that were out of his range. Everything in his range, he made the plays and got. So like it's not to say he's not good. Honestly, he's a Bo Bichette. He is a Bo Bichette in my personal opinion, because that's what I have with Bo. Is that Bo makes the routine plays, but when he goes off higher than his range, sometimes makes an error.
And I obviously I like Jeter, Yankee fan.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I do understand his shortcomings in watching and stuff, and as he got older, you could see it more. Mm-hmm. But I won't, and I won't say it. Yeah, maybe he could have gotten a couple more hit. Taking away a couple more hits and whatnot. But what he was consistently able to do is he would line up properly and he would make those consistent throws, which are, sometimes you don't look. I don't know how many times I'm watching a game and there's just a bad fucking throw from, a second baseman or a shortstop. And if you don't have a good first baseman, they're not getting to it.
Well, honestly, I actually kind of like this conversation. Let's continue on. One of the weirdest shortstops in MLB history was a guy named David Eckstein. Now, do you remember David Eckstein, right?
Probably.
David Eckstein, he helped defeat the Yankees in the 2002 World Series. And 2002 ALCS.
I probably wiped that from my memory.
Also, he was a tiny short. He was 5'6" and played shortstop. 5'6". He was the guy with the batting stance like that. It was flipping weird. But he was also super tiny. So him playing shortstop was like, why would he be playing shortstop, right? But in the early years of his career, he was pretty good, which was absolutely surprising. And in his 2005 season, that was one of his best seasons in terms of fielding runs. He had a -2 defensive run saved, but because he didn't have an arm. The biggest thing with Eckstein is he couldn't make that throw all the time from the deepest part of the park. That Troy Tulowitzki, we know how good he was. Ozzie Smith, Andrelton Simmons, bro, Derek Jeter could all make those throws. Alex Rodriguez, they could all make those throws. Alexander Bogaerts, I'm doing some more recent names as well.
He was fast. He was fast. Yeah. He lost his speed though when he got a little older.
Yes, and that's why he moved. He moved to second base.
He was 4th in Rookie of the Year. I was looking. He had his rookie year
was
his
absolutely
first 2 years. He had a 9.4 total WAR. I mean, that's if it was now, he would have capitalized in on a contract, extension. But
100%.
He never got that because he started fading before that contract.
He was also an older player. He came up at 26. So he was a little more mature.
It's tough, and actually when you're older, I mean that's why Judge has a contusion on his toe.
Yeah.
His toe was probably,
But that
a
catch
little
was
bit more.
absolutely sick. So
It is, and so these are the things you have to fight when you have these stars. Is
yeah.
that you want to see that, and
Mhm.
Bader's the same way in the Yankees. You want to see these amazing things, but they cost you sometimes,
Mhm.
and that's why, that's why Stanton is never in the outfield. I know he can still be a Gold Glove
Bro,
outfielder.
100%.
And the fact that they don't play him is because they just feel like he's going to do something like that and be out for the whole season
And get hurt. Yeah.
so
And they can risk it with Judge because Judge is a superior fielder. They could risk it with other players. And honestly, yeah. So I didn't mean for this conversation to start right off trashing obviously the Yankees. I didn't mean for that to go that way. Infested.
no. We weren't really trashing them. We were going over some important things about history of the game and comparing. And I'm always the first. Look, I like my team. I'm gonna feel.
Oh, of course.
I can be critical of my team also, and critical of players in the past and stuff. I mean, my greatest. I wish I was old and I could have saw my favorite player was Lou Gehrig. Because I started looking at him. Now, granted, it was a different time, and maybe he wouldn't have been as good if it was different types of competition out there. But everything I learned about it, he was just a really good player.
Oh, 100%.
And the fact that he never got hurt and people like that, they never get hurt, type of thing. It's tough. You don't see that so much anymore. I don't even know if we have an Iron Man going on right now. Is anyone actually?
Whit Merrifield was the Whit Merrifield when he played like 3 seasons, every game. He was the closest. I do not know who is the current leader right now. That would be actually interesting news if you.
I'm looking. So we don't have any active. Yeah, I was trying to see if there's any active. No, it's a hard thing to look up. Apparently, I'm seeing old articles. It's pretty crazy, but it's also not as normal. Players want breaks. And not maybe they don't want breaks.
No, not all of them want breaks. Yeah, but it's more
managers are more open to breaks, and more open to doing this. But I started out going everything
Matt
is
Olson.
fine thing, but
Matt Olson. That was last year. I don't know if it's still, but that was last year.
Okay.
But Whit Merrifield was second. Yeah, Matt. Thank you very much, Zach Champ. I appreciate that. Yeah, I thought I saw Matt Olson, but I wasn't 100% sure because it was an article from last year. So,
and you don't ever know if he's played every single game, but looks like he's played 61 games this year for the Braves. And how many games have the Braves had?
He's Zach Champ. He's the current active leader. Yeah, which makes absolute sense. And that's pretty awesome. But like no one is gonna break Cal Ripken or Lou Gehrig's streak. Also, mostly because it's a business. Players are a commodity, and I would much rather see my best player sit if we're gonna win a World Series. Or get a day off. Now I don't know if you noticed this, but some teams are pulling a player. So like the Jays were losing on Monday, and Bo Bichette was pulled with 2 runners on in the 7th inning for a pitch hitter because he plays almost every game.
And that happens. That happens sometimes with your catchers too. Mm-hmm. But the thing is I look at it a different way. Look, injuries happen. It sucks. I'm gonna be in Yankee Stadium on Saturday as long as the winds and the air quality is okay enough to go to the game, or if it's still on, because it could still shift and things. But I'm due to go. They're against the Red Sox. Go to the series, watch it on TV and stuff. I know we didn't do the series for stuff, but we can go through some of the good games.
No, we're definitely. I have a few. There's a bunch of teams we got to talk about this week.
But I'm kind of sad because I'm not going to get to see Judge. I want to see the stars. And when you go to a game as a fan, you want to see the players that are supposed to be on there. And it's an age-old question. It's the NBA, the NFL, less the NFL in the end of the season, but different teams, different sports, they're sitting their stars randomly, and you don't know if they're going to play. And to me, it's tough because I'm paying a lot of money. especially for these games, against the Red Sox. I
Mhm.
mean, the Red Sox may not be that good, but those tickets are still expensive, especially in New
Exactly.
York. And I want to see the players that I want to see. I don't want to see I mean, and nothing against Calhoun, but I don't want to see Calhoun. I want to
Well, who
see,
does?
you know.
Oh shit! Well, I can have some things to say about Calhoun. I predicted him last season to be a good player, and I was
I mean,
absolutely
he's
wrong.
still a good player now. It's just
No,
for the Yankees.
like
So.
I expected him to be like to be taking an outfield position starting in for the Texas Rangers, and I was
Okay.
absolutely wrong. I was absolutely wrong. I had some high hopes for him. I'm happy. I'm happy he's found a nice spot with the team.
I mean, he's probably going to be a utility for a little bit and
Yeah.
stuff, but either way,
Mm.
he's the DH. He's not going to be playing outfield and stuff. But and Bauer's great right fielder. I would like to get to know him, but it'd be nice to be able to see Stanton out there or
Of course.
one of the starters that I should be able to see. And oh no, Rizzo is going to be sitting this day. You don't know. And when I'm paying, I'll be honest. I think I paid $150 each ticket. And not the best tickets, 200s, but they're expensive. It's not cheap, and I'd like to see what I could get because I'm paying. And now the games are shorter, so I'm getting less eating,
Technically, you actually get more game. There's more action now.
I know. Yeah.
Technically,
yes.
so sorry. That's my response to when people say games are shorter. More action though. Less.
It's fine. Look, I'm not hurting the shorter because we're seeing, and I don't know if it's also because we're seeing different teams be good. I'd like to see if the trend for the attendance keeps the way it is, because certain teams are getting a lot more people in.
Yes.
And when like the Pirates get people in, it's noticeable in the league because you see a spike in percentage and stuff like that. But we'll see if that continues, and if it's related to the fact that, well, I can now go to a game and enjoy it and not think I have to stay 3 hours.
Oh my god! Honestly, like in even a game like I said I was on Monday, though, it was absolutely trash, 6-0 after the first inning. But that was like the game was over at 10, and that was 3 hours, because there was a bunch of pitching changes, a bunch of things happened. But like 10 o'clock, the game was still over.
It's gonna be. It's going to be interesting. We're doing it overnight because you never know.
Yeah.
And there's only so many trains that go back upstate. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. But it was more necessary, or I had to take the really crappy Metro North, which, I don't know, not crappy, but like it's plastic seats. I want to sit in a real train, Amtrak, but especially if it's a 2-hour train ride.
Exactly.
But, it's one of those things where I had to stay over because you don't know, and it's the same as everyone else driving home, anywhere in a major city. It takes 30 minutes to an hour for a lot of people that are going back to the suburbs that are purchasing these tickets a lot of times, or season ticket holders and stuff. There's not everyone is New York City where you have a dense population that you can market internally.
Of course.
And sometimes it takes time in the city to go across, even with subways, but I mean, it takes you 30 minutes to get to where you're going?
45.
Well,
and that's 40 minutes plus a walk.
So you don't want to leave at midnight for a game.
Of course not. I'd have to leave. The last train from
the
Yankees, station to Scarborough is midnight.
And that Yankees and it's 9:30. The Yankees are going to play 2 back-to-back games because they had the day-night doubleheader, single ticket sale. Where they started at 4. The game's already in the bottom of the 7th. They're going to probably be done by 10 o'clock, as long as something doesn't really change, maybe even earlier than that. And they're going to play 2 games in that period of time. So that's crazy to think about.
No, 100%.
All right.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Evans. Well, I was gonna mention. So, like I said, Didi Gregorius got signed by the Mariners, and awesome. He actually was hitting. He was actually playing in Mexico, so he didn't sign until May. Then he played in Mexico for 26 games. And Mexico is like a AAA, AA league in terms of sport, but it's the professional Mexican league, and he was crushing it, playing shortstop. So that honestly, that absolutely earns you another chance in the major leagues. He's going to go to the minor leagues with Mariners, I believe. And he's probably going to be their second baseman because obviously they have Crawford at shortstop. But he can play second base. Most shortstops can move over to second base. So honestly, I think that'll be a pretty good signing. If he even, no matter if he hits 200. Colton Wong is hitting 153 with a 246 on base percentage. He has a win created run plus of 29, which is dead last in the majors. For hitters with at least 130 plate appearances. That is absolutely like dreadful. And we talked about Wong.
And it's not like he didn't. So he was playing with Mexico, but it's not like he didn't have like competitive play in him either, because he still played this year for Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic.
Yes.
So I mean, he.
That's actually true. That's a good point there. That's a good point.
So you're facing competitive, so it's not like he didn't. He's that far away from having done the competitiveness. So.
Yeah. So there was also another signing that I wanted to mention. Where was it? Boom, boom, boom. Well, actually, that is not. I had another signing and I lost it. I deleted the page. So that there goes shows how prepared I am for today. But there we go. I also want to mention. Okay, so where you want to go to games. We didn't do games of the week last week, guys. We actually forgot to do games of the week. So
we already had 2 hours though. So,
we already had 2 hours in. We did a lot of fluff, a lot of filler. As always, our podcasts are uploaded to YouTube. You guys can check them out on our YouTube channel if you'd like. They usually are posted every Saturday. The last two have not been. This one also probably might not get up on Saturday. But you will see it on Sunday though. This one will get up on Sunday. Here's
you're gonna fire your intern, that's
bro. I got to, bro. Seriously. Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about, I know that they were facing awful teams this week, and I mean like they were facing Kansas City and Oakland, but they won all 6 games, and that is the Miami flippin' Marlins. The Miami flippin' Marlins won 6 games this week. And guess what?
They're 8-2 in the last 10.
That puts them 3 back of Atlanta.
I wasn't sure what to make, and I still not sure if they have the talent.
Yeah,
the talent to go the whole season, and it's still short. Short. However, if their front office wants to get rid of some of their young players, they could get some help. It's not like they don't have some talent. They built up. So the one thing, it wasn't the best administration, the Jeter administration and stuff, but the one thing they did focus on is building up their A-ball, their minor leagues.
Their core.
And they did a decent job. I'm not saying they did perfect,
bro.
But
their pitching staff is all under the age of 27.
Yeah.
Like they have a 20-year-old in their pitching staff who's pitched 5 games for them. They have Braxton Garrett, who's started 11 games. Edwin Cabrera started 13. Jesus Lusario started 13. And Sandy Alcantara started 12. And honestly, if Sandy can figure it out this year, like we know Sandy can pitch, bro, they could be even better. Like he hasn't even had a good season so far.
I mean, and you got to look at it in this point. I mean, yes, they faced the Oakland A's, but the Oakland A's
have been
the Oakland A's took 2 of 3 from the Pirates, so it's not like they're not capable of it. I mean, I don't know if this is more about the Pirates or the A's on the roll, but it's we'll see.
Exactly.
They're playing for the Brewers.
Basically, for me, it's more just like it puts a little bit of pressure on Atlanta. Honestly, they are not a team like Atlanta. They are honestly. I wouldn't put Miami in a top team in the NL East, but there's a bunch of holes on that roster. But they do have one of the best players in the league, and their other players are performing. Yuli Gurriel's a great signing for them. John Birdie's been playing well. Brian De La Cruz, Jorge Solar, and like honestly, if they can find a third baseman if they can get a nice little third baseman from somewhere and replace Gene Segura with the bat. That could be a formidable lineup.
I mean, the thing that Atlanta is always going to have is they're one of the better pitching teams in baseball. So
yes, and Atlanta has good pitching. Plus, they're getting better as well.
And they also have the ability to pay if they trade. So that's the difference. I don't know if Miami could find someone, but are they willing to pay that money? You know, they may end up getting a veteran of
What's
a team that's trying to offload.
Are they willing to give up prospects? Because at the same time, like we know, they're playing a little above where we expected them to play this year. Also because the division is not playing as well as it should play, with the Mets not being very good. But at the same time, and like I said, they did come against inferior competition, but they're going to be on my next week game of the week. 100%, we're going to put them on the next week game of the week because and they've been on the game of the week before, but they are going into Chicago and Seattle. And they're going into Washington on the road. That is their road trip they're just coming on after they were at home for a while. So for me, I want to see how they do. Chicago's been resurging. We both know that. Chicago's been playing good baseball. And Seattle's also been playing good baseball. So this is going to be a major test for them on the road to see if they can take a series from either of those teams. So I'm going to say the Monday game versus Seattle would be a good game.
What I will say is Miami is trending up. They're still last in the National League in attendance, but they've actually I wanted to see this. They actually have gotten 400,000 people and we're what 1/3 of the way is the number.
Yeah.
What do we gain? We gain number. Yeah. So they have a chance if they continue that trend to be over a million attendance. And the last time that was the case when they were at that it was way back in 2017. And I know it's not the same, but they're still probably might be last, but that's money that goes into that goes into thinking like, hey, if we can sustain this, maybe they'll start thinking about investing back into the team, and that's the problem. They just don't invest.
And also they're playing well. They're playing well as we know as fans. You're playing well, your fans will show up. Your fans will buy those tickets. Your fans will come to those games. So that is very important. And also, like I said, like the next week, their next road trip, if they come back and they're still above 500, I think that'll be a very, very successful road trip for them. So what game did you want to make a game of the week? Since we didn't do them last week, we can pick any game we want.
The easiest fruit, low-hanging fruit, and I said that, and I kind of hinted to it. We just never did it formally. Was the Dodgers-Yankees series? You know, there were two teams going at it. The Dodgers and the Yankees have long histories. And they were both in New York, and then they moved. They're big spending teams. They got similar philosophies and stuff. The Dodgers have, been, I guess, better. Obviously they've won more series and stuff. But that was the series I wanted to see. I wanted to see how the Yankees would line up with the team that was doing as well as they were, and what the outcome. And I will tell you, the first game, it didn't go as well because they were down 6-0, but they did come back, and it was the first game back for Stanton and Donaldson. And Donaldson had a home run, and so did Stanton. Two home runs. Stanton had a home run, so it was like, oh great, our stars, they're back.
But at the same time, you still lost 8-4. So it was like they hit home runs, and then the Yankees are losing. It's like,
it was because
what
they started. It was 6-0 by the first, so it's always tough to get out of that hole. And good teams can try to do it, but you're not going to do it all the time.
Now,
and the thing, the Dodgers don't have a good bullpen really after the top three. They do have good bullpen players, but they don't have the depth in their bullpen. No, it's not that bad.
But also the Dodgers, that actually, this has been a little rough stretch for the Dodgers. They lost a series on the road with Tampa, beat Washington 2 of 3, then lost a series to the Yankees at home, and then, other than today, they got walked off twice by the Cincinnati Reds. They got walked off twice, and so then they won today, but they still lost 4 games in a row, and that has put them now in second place in the division. Arizona is now in first.
And it's true, and Kershaw's back to being the guy that they want. Now we could talk about his playoff time and stuff like that, but during the seasons, he was and for years with them, he was their stopper. If they were on a losing streak, he would come in and stop that streak. You know, and he did it again today. He put up an amazing pitching day, and it's them losing to the Reds though, and
one of them was bad. One of them was bad. The walk off. I was watching that game on Tuesday. It was bad conditions as well. But that loss, they split 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth, including a bases loaded walk, then a hit by a pitch to tie the game, and then a single to win it. So it was not very good.
I will give it to Arizona though, because granted the Dodgers were having issues.
Yeah.
But Arizona went 8-2 in that time period, and they had to, and that's all that allowed them. And one of those series, and actually it was one that I would have done a game of the week to the game of the week too.
Yeah.
Was Arizona versus the Braves.
Yes.
That series. Now they won the first game, but they didn't. They lost to the Braves, but it's.
And that first game did put them on a 6-game winning streak. So yeah, they did end up losing the series at home, which is tough. But they did face the heart of the order. Strider pitched, and Minter pitched. Well, not Strider. Strider pitched and Soraka pitched. So Soraka actually had a bad outing. And that was the bullpen. The bullpen blew it for that one. And just because it just happened, what is going on with Houston? So Houston goes into Los Angeles earlier this week and wins 3 games of a 4-game series. Remember we were talking, we actually did mention this. Houston had a 4-game series, 2 4-game series in 1 week. And so they go in and they beat Los Angeles 4 games, 3 games to 2, 3 games to 1. And then they go to Toronto, win the first game, and lose the next 3. Like, holy bejesus, bro. Houston, there is a problem. So Texas has just pulled away, guys. Texas continuing to pull away, and I don't think they're stopping. Texas, I personally think Texas is going to win the division the way they're playing.
And it's going to be rough because I don't know if you saw it, but Alvarez left the game.
Yes. Oh no, Alvarez did left the game. Yeah, with some quad trouble.
And he, he's got an oblique issue, and obliques could be months. You don't know how that's going to be because that's.
Bro, he has such a sweet swing too. He has such a sweet swing.
That's going to be tough for them because he is one of the reasons their offense does as well. It's we'll see. I don't know. I think them losing their talent. Their top of the line talent is starting to catch up a little.
And also, they also have 3 starters on the IL. Yeah, they also have 3 starters on the IL as well.
I would love to see them not get in is the playoffs, though, because anytime they're in the playoffs, they're a dangerous team. They're scrappy.
Yes.
They don't give up. They can find ways. And it's still early. But
currently they are in the first wild card spot.
We'll see if that continues.
The second wild card spot. My bad. My apologies.
Yeah, no, Baltimore has that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Texas, if they sustain this hitting, it's they're on like a crazy streak. I don't know if they can.
Speaking of Texas as well, they just had a huge, horrible blow to their rotation with Jacob deGrom being announced having his 2nd Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. And
he is now out for the whole season and part of next season most likely as well.
And I feel for him as a pitcher, as
a fan too, yeah.
He's later, and I would have liked to see. Now, I was listening to one of the many talk radios, and they made a good point. he has a teammate currently that went through 2 Tommy Johns and came back, and he's doing well. It's Nathan Eovaldi. So he has something to go back to. He has someone to talk to about dealing with this twice, because the amount of, you could be the best player ever, but when stuff happens to you, and potentially a depression moment hits, it may derail you. He may decide, you know what, I got money. I mean, he's not going to retire, because what I'll say is that he's
at the same time, though,
sad. He's not sad because he's collecting 37 million recovering from with his elbow. So I'm not sad in that aspect, but as a competitor, he's definitely wanting to be out there. And that being said, they didn't have him. They didn't even have him, and they're still doing this well. I mean, it would have been good. The only thing is, I think will happen now with the Texas is what they were hoping for is DeGrom was going to be that mid-season trade. Everyone looks at that star coming back and helping you. Now they'll actually have to find that player and bring him.
Well, depending, because Dane Dunning has pitched well since he's been in the rotation. Dane Dunning has been a starter in the past for Texas. Was a starter the past 2 years. So he was put in the bullpen, obviously, because they had a full starting rotation. And he has pitched well in his last 5 games out of the rotation. And did pitch well last season as well. Also, the biggest thing for me is that Nathan Eovaldi had that when he was younger. Jacob deGrom also is 35. And his Tommy John surgery was in 2010. So, just as he was being drafted. So, that's a long time between Tommy John surgeries. And it is, as an older player, it is harder to come back from Tommy John, the same effectiveness. Now, we all know how much of a gamer he is. I really do think that he will come back and be the same pitcher he is. But I don't know how long that will last, because as you said, because we said it is his second Tommy John, but he does have someone on his team, and like you said, he's a gamer. He's gonna want to come back. But 35 years old, 34, 5 years old is hard. That's not an easy grind.
No, but he does have someone's phone number that he can call that had a Tommy John, that had an injury that came back and had a Cy Young year. So as an older player, so it's not like it's unheard of anymore, because the talent is there. It's
and also like the health, the doctors are there as well. Like it's the rehabbing is a little easier.
It's tough, and it's always like these players that. And I'm wondering if we played in a different time sometimes, if these players would just pitch through or do through and stuff like that. Because
they wouldn't pitch through. Because Sandy Koufax is the main example. Yeah. So there's some things you just can't pitch through.
True, but I look at Tanaka, and he probably should have had Tommy John. I know it wasn't a complete rip, but he pitched through that whole thing, and he still hasn't. Now, granted, maybe it's a little different because he could adjust, but
not everyone can adjust. So speaking of craziness, so there was MLB put out a poll at the beginning of the season. Who will be your 2023 Cy Young Award winner? Jacob deGrom, American League, Alek Manoah, were both on that list, and Jacob deGrom is no longer gonna be eligible for the Cy Young because he's not gonna be pitching anymore, and Alek Manoah has been demoted to the Complex League. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, as a Yankee fan, I mean, he did call Cole a cheater, so
Cole was a cheater. Just put that fact down. Sticky stuff was cheating, but
but you're saying I'm not getting into this. Every pitcher uses some sort of sticky stuff.
From a baseball point of view,
once they started cracking down on it, now the pitchers needed to figure different stuff out. But every pitcher,
of course,
from ever,
of course,
something. I mean, and it would just balance that line, because especially and to be perfectly honest, if I was a hitter and I got a pitcher up there like Chapman, and I think he can't hold the ball, or now you got other pitchers that pitch just as fast. I don't want him to slip because I like my life, because that's gonna hurt or kill you.
But from a baseball perspective, though, what do you think of it? not from a personal perspective.
As a baseball, he's
Like,
obviously have something going on, and
because I'm assuming you watched his one start against the Yankees this season in New York. Like that was he's had 2 good starts all year, and that was one of his good starts. So like I'm assuming you've seen that, you saw that because you were watching that game.
I don't know what got him to the point. I mean, he's been suffering the last couple starts. I'm trying
so 1-7 with a 6 point something ERA. His only win was the start against Kansas City in his second start of the season. Yeah.
So
right, like it's insane. I'm
wondering, people. And I don't know. He's still a young a young player, and I'm hoping he's not going through something as just a fan and wanting to see good players. I'm hoping he's not going through something like Rick Ankiel.
Yes.
You know, and it's not a issue where it's going to continue to be an issue where he might be out of the game, you know, or have to figure out something because.
Or David Bard. Same thing with David Bard. Great pitcher who then just couldn't throw strikes.
Especially him. I mean, he was top 3 Cy Young.
Exactly.
You know? So it's not like in the second year. It's not like that's like flipping a switch. Now, what I will say is 2 things. And after a couple years, the expert players on the other side have more data to pull from you, so they could look at it. And the lack of the shift this year could be hurting him too, where it's just a snowball effect.
Plus the pitch clock as well.
Yeah,
that could be a big thing for a player like him who never pitched with the pitch clock in the minor leagues.
Are you sure? Because they were doing the pitch clock for a while there.
2020. I thought they started the pitch clock in 2020 and 2021 in the minor leagues. Wasn't the pitch clock? Because so he might have done a little bit of that, but I thought it started in 2021 in the minor leagues. Maybe, or it might have been lower because he was already in AAA. Like he was already in AAA in 2020 and 2021. So like I don't think he ever actually used the pitch clock until this season.
Well, and that could be a big difference. But that being said, that's not an excuse. All pitchers have to have corrected that.
Exactly.
Now, what I think might happen is just more data on him, so he has to go and probably correct some things. Maybe he lost a pitch. You know, I don't know.
That's the biggest thing.
You could probably talk more about this.
100%.
As a pitcher, the feel for a ball, or not getting your grip right, or maybe something wrong with his hand. It's not an injury, but maybe he just can't get his hand to do something that he's used to, and he's just having an issue.
The biggest thing is, so it could also be psychological too. So like we both know that success breeds second guessing from people, and as baseball fans, we all watched Alek Manoah's first game in the playoffs last season against Seattle, and it didn't go very well. It wasn't a normal Alek Manoah. It wasn't an Alek Manoah performance that I think he would look back on with anything. That was not a good performance from him. It was okay.
Imposter syndrome is a real thing in every place. You know, you could be a CEO that you just got. You could have imposter syndrome because you're like, am I really supposed to be here?
Yeah.
You know, and that creeps into all the players, especially in the early part. Really good players, they don't always, or if they have it, they use it as that chip. Like, yeah, I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm going to prove them that I am. You know,
and that was his big chip. And so there's 2 things. I think it's 2, a little bit of pitch clock, getting used to that, which every player has, not getting used to it quick enough. More data, people know him, he's been around. But also you're absolutely correct on losing a pitch. And part of why the Jays didn't just send him to AAA, go work on some stuff, is I personally think that he needs some time away from baseball.
Okay.
So think of it. This man comes up to the major leagues in 2021, pitches a shit ton of innings because he was good. Then in 2022, he starts the season with the team, pitches 31 games, pitches in the postseason. It doesn't go. Also goes to the All-Star game, pitches in the All-Star game. Like this man did everything.
Right.
And then in the offseason, he's awards, shows, things to do, working out, getting ready for the next season. All baseball, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, every player needs it, but this guy came up quick and fast, way faster than expected. And then he starts getting hit. This is the first time he's ever struggled. And we both know in baseball it's all a mental game. We've both seen pitchers who come up and then struggle, and then they have no idea what to do. How am I supposed to get guys out? They can hit me now, right?
And his whip is
Right?
basically 1.9.
He has walked the most batters in baseball. He's walked 42. He walked 51 all of last season in almost 200 innings. Like that is insanity. Now he also hit 15 last year. And he's
I mean, look, hit by pitches. That's that's a good number.
He has a lot of movement. You've seen him. His movement is.
And you know what? A lot of hitters will stay in.
Yes.
Like the pitch because that they'll want to get on base.
Mm-hmm.
If and I look at this differently. People are like, oh, he's a hitter. He should be trying to hit. It's like, well, if my job is to get on base,
exactly,
I'm going to try to get on base anytime.
Exactly.
Now, yes, I know I'm taking my bat out of my hand, and I could have done more damage, but most teams that are a team based, let the other person hit me in. Now I can get.
It depends.
We can continue
it totally depends on what the situation is, where you are. Like if I'm the 9-hole hitter getting hit, bro, put me on base. I mean, I'll take it. Because
I will say someone like Rizzo gets hit a lot.
Yeah,
but he gets pissed. He doesn't want the bat out of his hand.
Of course, because he can actually hit. But like a guy who knows he's not going to hit a home run or drive in those runs will be like, yo, guy behind me can do that. But yeah, so personally, like I said, I think that this is a good move for him. I don't know what the Jays are going to do, but I think he just take a week away from baseball. Because like, yeah, this is unsettling because you don't want to develop the yips. I personally believe he's going to come back stronger and better. And having a pitcher like Alek Manoah on the Blue Jays fits for a good Yankees-Blue Jays rivalry. It fits.
I will say the yips are a little less likely nowadays for most players because there is more awareness of therapy, mental health, of communicating,
sports psychologists.
And it will help you get out of that.
But
and
confidence is key. Because look at another Blue Jays pitcher, Jose Barrios, signed to a 7-year contract extension before last season. Starts opening day and doesn't make it out, gets one out. Doesn't even make it out of the first inning. Has an awful season last season. Did have some really good starts in between, but had an absolutely awful season. He couldn't even find a way to throw his slider. Even talking Garrett Cole a couple seasons ago, the end of the season, he had no idea what happened to his off-speed pitches, so everyone started hitting his fastball. And it was completely crazy. Like, how are they hitting Garrett Cole? Because he is one of the most dominant pitchers in the league. And it was just one pitch just wasn't hitting. And then when you don't have that pitch, you have to learn to pitch differently, and it's not always easy. As we both know, it's not always easy to try and do something differently when you've done it for so long. So like I think this is good. Plus, because he's young, it'll be a great.
He's got time to come back. It actually could help. We'll see.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll be interesting to see if he comes back.
Probably
and how.
Probably after the All-Star break, I'm gonna think that they'll leave him down there for a week, and then he'll start ramping up, and then they'll figure out what is going on with him.
Do you think they might? Is there a possibility that they don't bring him back as a starter?
No, 100% no. Right. He's 100% coming back as a starter. But I think based on your thing, he has lost his slider. His fastball and slider, as we both know, are two similar pitches. And when they come out of your hand as a pitcher, they both come out of your hand. When the way he throws them, they come up from the same arm slot. So when they're coming out of the same arm slot right here, that means that the pitch comes out at the same side, slider and fastball. This season, his fastball and slider, because there's such a difference in his slider, when he throws it out of the hand, it is looking different. So if I'm a major league hitter, I used to not be able to see which one was his fastball and slider until too late. So he was getting all the swings and misses on those sliders. Now I can see his slider out of the hand. So yeah, he'll still get some strikeouts on it, but people can see it. And that makes a huge difference. Plus, he doesn't throw 95, 96, 97. So like he's not a blow it by you. He's a pitcher. Other than less when he faces the Yankees because like that he's from New York. So he gets a little amped up. So he throws 96, 90, 97 against them. But like normally he's a 91, 92, 93 guy. So that slider and the deception is super important, but he's throwing a slider 4 miles an hour different than last year, which means that it's breaking earlier.
There's a question, I believe it's
okay.
virtual training like they do in golf.
There is some virtual training you need.
There is some of the newer batting cages and stuff that they're putting down has the 3D. You know, you hit off the tee and you can see it where it's going. It's not as much, but the thing that baseball has that golf doesn't is multiple leagues to help progress a player, and you can work on different things and different quality of opponents. So if you need to work on a certain pitch and see how it just is, they'll send you down to lower A, you know, and you'll do it. If you need to be close to, you know, major league, they'll send you to AAA.
And
now it's not
real.
the same, but it's, you know,
well, basically
it's as close as it is, and some depending on what league you're in the AAA, some of these players, some of these teams have
the 4A players. They're called 4A players. They're guys who should be major leaguers but aren't good enough to play in the majors. But they're too good for AAA.
Or they're blocked.
Or they're blocked. Yeah.
You know, the Yankees with all their veterans had so many of them that they never traded them away. They lost a couple to Rule 5 and things like that. It was actually tough, you know. But you know, anyway,
what Alek Manoah is going down to do. What Alek Manoah is going
is there. It's more used on the off season than it is during the season because there's just too many opportunities to have real training.
That's why they're sending him down to the complex, because specifically he is going to pitch simulated games to figure out what's wrong in a setting. Like if you send him to AAA and he doesn't pitch well, it's just going to lower his confidence even more. It's not going to help him, because you can't work on something when you can't work on a problem when you need to find out the exact reason there's a problem. So what he's going to do is he's going to pitch simulated games. They're going to throw all his pitches into a, and then find out issues and then try and correct those issues in other simulated games. Then he may pitch a few games for the Dunedin team in low single A. So against hitters that he can absolutely dominate. And then he'll be sent up to AA or AAA once they feel they've corrected enough. So a lot of the reason sending him down and using virtual stuff is more to correct flaws. A lot of players, like in golf, like you do that. Oh, I keep slicing the ball, right? Like when you use the virtual golfing, I keep slicing the ball. Well, this is to say where the ball going and where are you releasing it? How are you throwing it? Where should I stand on the mound? Yeah. Oh, 100%. They use a lot of computers. There's honestly a lot of stuff these days, and like even stuff we don't even see. There's a lot of stuff we don't even see. They use spin rates and stuff like that to determine stuff.
Actually, and I hate to bring his name up because he's kind of like ostracized in the game now. But one of the big pitchers that would tweak his game for the first was Dodger, released by the Dodgers. Why am I now blanking at his name?
Bauer.
Bauer. Yes, Trevor Bauer. He would laser. He had laser cameras set up in his bullpen at his house and stuff, and look at where he was releasing, slow it down, figure out the science of the game. Now, he might not have been a good person in some areas, but he knew the science, and if you take that and you take that through as it progresses, some of these pitchers can just figure out what's actually going wrong, and that's what makes these professionals better than anything that I would be able to do. They can take that information and correct it. You know, they find ways to correct it and actually correct it in live stuff. So it's he's actually
he's interesting choice. He also was very into the technical aspect of the game before he became a horrible human being publicly. Like his draft, I actually was very interested in him drafting and his prospect rise because of who he was and how technical he was with the game. And that's a big key because a lot of baseball is all repetitive, and when things like it's a game of small adjustments, and sometimes small adjustments don't work. The biggest thing is when you need to make big adjustments. Those are hard to make. Like we've all seen bad pitchers who don't play well, hitters who just can't hit, and sometimes a small adjustment is all they need. Then they're going on a tear.
Right.
But occasionally you need a whole off season to work on stuff. Or you need some time during the season to fix a specific problem. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Glad to help you. Also, very glad for the question because we love this topic.
And the reason the superstar players are at their superstar level is they can do these adjustments in the middle of their season. They don't always have to go. They'll work on it and sometimes correct. Some really good players, and that's one thing. I obviously I'll pull from what I know, but that's one thing that makes Judge as dangerous. And now I don't know how he'll keep it as he gets older, but he adjusts mid-game. And not every hitter can do that. They go in with a game plan and they do it.
Yeah.
He'll change up what he does third at bat because the first two at bats it didn't work. And those type of hitters and those type of just even in the pitchers that adjust, they just get that extra and they can figure it out and they succeed more often. And in hitting, you only need to do that one time out of 10 more, and you're an elite hitter.
Exactly.
So. It's
three times. If you're doing that, if you're able to adjust enough to get 3 hits and 10 at bats, and maybe get a walk, so you only have 9 at bats.
A lot of money.
Maybe you have 9 at bats and get a couple walks in there, so you only have an 8 or 7 at bats. Boom, you're good.
And when you're someone like Judge, that I think he swings a tree.
Yeah.
So the ball goes far. Sometimes those hits are going to be good, but it's just. It's great, and thank you for that question.
100%.
Maybe if we do I don't know what we're gonna do in the off season, but maybe
I got a bunch of things planned, so do not worry.
We're not gonna obviously do it weekly, but we can definitely do some fun things.
I got a couple plans for an off season. It might be a long one. But we can always take our time with it then.
I don't think we have an issue with long things. Neither of us were ready for this, and we're already an hour in.
Bro, this is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. Well, to be fair, I have poked you a little bit today, so we've caused a few discussions to happen.
Look, that's fine, and we both the nice thing is we both have enough.
Oh, come on, we're
baseball, knowledge. But I will say the Yankees did win their last game, so they're not on a losing streak, so that's good.
Only one game, wow, so special.
But I will say I actually have, and I know what's going on now.
You weren't even mentioning the Red Sox. Wow.
I was about to say. To remember to go watch the Red Sox.
Wow, bro. See, don't mention the Red Sox around your camera, bro. You know this. It hates you. It's a Red Sox fan.
All right, it's back on. What I was gonna say is there's another series. So the Yankees actually play the Red Sox, then another team, and then the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we could discuss this, see how that goes. The Red Sox aren't necessarily doing it, but there's a Subway Series happening in the middle there. So, I'm always a big fan of when Chicago plays Chicago, New York plays New York.
Yeah.
I wish, Canada had another team still that
so
they
Canada
could play.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. That would have been amazing actually, because the Expos were National League, right?
Ours is the Phillies. Yeah. Ours is the Phillies. We play the Phillies all the fucking time.
Oh, okay. I was like, what
that's the matchup when it was AL East, NL East every year. Every time it was when we had to play that one extra team that wasn't part of the league we were playing, it was always the Phillies. So when it was AL and NL Central, we would play the Phillies because it was like one extra team you needed to make it even or whatever.
That that's odd. I mean, though this year, when Florida teams go at it, that could be some good games. I don't know 100%. When it is, but when the Marlins
Tampa and Marlins,
Tampa play each other, and I'm trying to find when it is. So there's a home game for Tampa in July 25th and 26th. So
August 29th and 30th in Miami.
Yes. So if I wasn't going to be on vacation the week before, I might try to fly down there and see that game, type of thing.
We have another question in chat. Yes. So here it's actually not as bad in Canada. If I'm gonna be in Toronto anyway, it's not as bad here. It's actually worse across the border and across the lake because Toronto is right on the water. So there's a lot of dispersal. It's still pretty bad. Like I was downtown today and it's still, you can smells like smoke. And when we opened the stadium the other day, you could see the haziness inside, but it is worse across the border and they canceled Yankee games.
And they canceled the Yankee game, and actually they postponed the Nationals game today against Arizona because it's swooping down to that part of the United States too, near the capital of Washington. So it's supposed to maybe change, and the low front's supposed to get it out of there. But those are things that happen in areas. They've canceled games on the West Coast because of it. Not as much because the fires normally blew over the mountains and it wasn't as crazy like that. But it's not the first time.
New York got hit hard. New York got hit hard, and they also canceled like all the soccer games, all the football and soccer games.
The problem is that city has no protection around it. So when that stuff comes through, there's nothing to help dissipate it. Yeah. So it just stays there like smog.
Yeah.
And then it's dangerous. I mean, look, they're going to pay millions of dollars. So, can they wear a mask when they're playing? Yes, go ahead, wear a mask. But the fans wouldn't be showing up. And it's also about the workers of the stadium, because that's one thing, I always say go see a AAA, go see a AA game, because you're putting into local economies. But even in the major league stadiums, they employ a lot of part-time people,
Yes.
And it's for their safety too.
Even the millions of dollar guys, like I don't want my millions of dollar guy to get respiratory issues and not be able to.
I get it. Look, it's. I guess I'm not saying, hey, go out and get something wrong with you, but if you're wearing an actual graded mask,
yes,
you're fine.
You're absolutely fine, yeah. But it's hard to play baseball in that.
Right. Well, they had to do it. Some of them did it in,
That is absolutely true. Some of them did it. But at the same time, as a pitcher, I'm very glad they canceled the games. Because as a pitcher, you kind of that would be hard to do.
It would have been easy to hide that sticky stuff in the mask, though, if you needed to. So,
touche. Don't tell Domingo Herman that.
Listen. They're just under a greater microscope, and that's why their pitchers get, and I wanted to know, your two friendly teams were facing each other. Do you take off your Houston thing and just
okay, so I was actually streaming on Monday, because I didn't stream that weekend because I was actually not feeling well, and I was wearing a Houston hat. I don't know where I put it. It's over there. And then they won that game, and then the Jays won the next 3. Wrench bender, let's go Blue Jays! And hells yeah, now we're back. Now we're back in good spirits, good things. Catching up to the Yankees. How did I miss the Houston hat? Well, come on, Wrench. Missing hats.
The catching up to the Yankees, yes, but just it's
barely. We know.
Barely.
Because the Yankees stupidly had to win today.
Listen, they're gonna face the Red Sox and the Mets and the Red Sox again. So I'm expecting them to go on a 8-game winning streak. So.
Well, okay. So speaking of that, how do we want to do our games of the week? Do you want to go into our games of the week right now? That's
Yeah, yeah,
I
we
got no
can.
more
I mean,
I
I already
baseball
gave you
news.
one, but
I
um,
got no more baseball news this week, to be honest with you.
Tampa Bay is playing Texas
Okay, that's a good series.
this weekend, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday.
Uh-huh.
Watch one of those games. It's going to be some good baseball. They're both really good hitting teams, and they both have pitchers that can shut them. So it's going to be interesting if these are going to be high scoring games,
Uh-huh.
and just everyone hits each other, or there's going to be some pitching duels because I'm really curious what happens. It's interesting, and I'm trying to see who's lined up to pitch for either team. I don't know. Apparently, I can't see that. We have Henny and Glass now. So on Friday, Evaldi and Bradley, which that's pretty good matchup. Or Saturday, I mean.
That's a pretty good match. That's a pretty good matchup. Bradley's a pretty good pitcher.
Perez versus McClanahan. I mean,
Okay, honestly, we didn't actually mention him last week. We didn't actually mention him last week at all,
which is crazy because he's 9-1 with a 2 ERA.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
So.
To be fair, he to be fair to myself, he wasn't on any of the top. He hasn't been striking out the most batters this season. He wasn't on the top WAR list for pitchers.
His whip is over 1. He's just getting so.
But he is still one of the best pitchers in all of the American League and should have been mentioned in our All-Star.
He's not giving up a lot of runs, but however, I will say, he consistency when you have a team that hits as well is all you need. I mean, look, his ERA could be double, and he'd probably still have just as many wins. Yes, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure some of those games weren't close.
So honestly, which game is he pitching? Which game is he pitching? Because that's my game of the week. Sunday's game. Okay, guys, watch
Perez.
Sunday. That's a perfect game. Martin Perez has been really good for Texas. Martin Perez versus McClanahan. Maybe not really good, but he's been good.
No, but I will say he's been good, but his last 3 games he's gotten wins. But the last 7 games that he started, let's say, but he's 3-0. But his ERA's crept up to close to 5. So it'd be interesting to see if he can round that out. But that being said, if McClanahan can shut down the Rangers, I'll be amazed because both of these teams are hitting like it's the end of the year.
100%.
They need to like if they don't hit, their stadium's going to blow up. Or
exactly.
Because I mean it's crazy how well they're both hitting. So
and Martin Perez is coming off. He had one bad start against Detroit, but Pittsburgh, Colorado, 7 innings, 2 runs. St. Louis, 7 innings, 1 no earned runs. Only 3 hits given up in his last start. So he's coming off a couple good games.
And obviously, our teams want the Texas to potentially win.
Yes.
But the team that can definitely benefit because they're going to execute is the Orioles. They play Kansas City, and they're way overmatched for Kansas City. Yeah. So I don't expect them now to lose. I mean, they might lose 1, but they're definitely going to win that series. And if they don't, I'll eat my words on that. But because the Orioles have.
I know. You eat a hot dog on stream. You eat a hot dog on stream.
Well, I mean, I can do that. I mean, it's pretty late. I give myself heartburn, but I can do that.
I think if they lose the series to Kansas City, heartburn is worth it. It's not really worth it. You don't have to do that, but
no. Look. I got my Amazon, generic antacids here, so I can definitely go ahead and do that. Oh
damn! You don't spring for the Tums? You don't spring for the Tums?
Oh, I got Tums, but this is like I don't even know what it's supposed to be. It's like Pepsid AC or some sort of. It's the pill, Okay. And when I'm eating horrible, I gotta have it, especially when you get old like me. So
Well, okay. So honestly, speaking of Baltimore, we have to put one of the games, Toronto versus Baltimore, on the game of the week because Baltimore came into Toronto and basically kicked them around, shoved them in the closet, and said, "Sit there and take it." And but it wasn't as bad because like they didn't crush them, but Toronto just couldn't get a hit with runners in scoring position. So I think these teams are more even than obviously they played that series. So this is a good look. Toronto has to go into hostile territory. Baltimore's real. We know Baltimore's a good team, and we have to come to grips with that. So Baltimore's a good team. This is a good series. I am personally going to say that the Tuesday game would be the game to watch because an underrated pitcher this season has been Chris Flippin Bassett.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Man threw 81 pitches through over 8 innings, got pulled in the ninth because it was only a 3-2 game versus Houston. Shut them down, only gave up 4 hits, a home run to Yonder Alonso, who absolutely, not Alonso, Alvarez, who absolutely like pulled his hands in to hit that home run, shut down the Mets while his wife was pregnant in Toronto for 7.2 innings. Had a bad start against Minnie, but also then comes off a start against Tampa, which only 2 earned runs. Start against New York where he went 7 innings. So, and like he was on that amazing 27 inning streak with no earned runs. Yeah. Like that was, he's underrated this season.
It will be interesting. I don't know though. They might have a little hostility in Baltimore.
Oh, 100%.
Towards Canada because they're getting, basically choked out right now down there. So that, it'll be cleared out. They might be like, all right,
Well, they already have hostility because our teams don't really like each other. Brian Baker famously decided to yell at Toronto Blue Jays players for absolutely no reason. He's a former Toronto Blue Jay, so that makes sense.
I like the AL East. There's so many back and forths going on now. Teams going at it. It's like old school 90s.
It is. Because we're all good. Like it's honestly good. Like the Red Sox will be good in a couple years. How much?
I mean, they're still a 500 team. It's not like they're doing bad. It's just
we got a question in chat.
Games that they wouldn't have in previous years.
So Wiggles is asking, honestly, how much might games be skewed by the air quality? So that is actually a big question. With the air will disperse, and it eventually will disperse enough that it will not be dangerous. As it keeps flowing down. But for right now, it is not getting much better. As the fires have been, some of the fires have been put out, but there are still fires burning. There is still smoke coming down. It is just the quality is not as bad as it was like beginning of the week, in certain parts, but as the air moves, it is getting worse in other places. So you might still see some games canceled.
It went down south, and luckily, a lot of the games right now haven't been in those coast areas. Now, Yankees have had games, so they're in other areas. But as they travel and do stuff, it's going to affect. Now, this weekend, that low system is it will be weatherman for a brief period, but there's a low system that's like right off near New York area, like above it, and it's forcing these winds to come down from the north, and it's colder, and it's bringing it down. Now, when that moves off, it's going to bring it up. So the smoke's still going to go somewhere, but it's not going to go to the heavily populated areas. It's going to go to least populated areas, which will have it's still going to affect people, but not millions
apparently we need to get some Coors Light over here to put out the fires because it is just water. That is a shot at one of our mutual friends for anyone who is listening. I think every single person in chat knows who we're talking about. But yeah,
it's interesting. They did play the 2 games. The ball still traveled, so it's not like the particulates were changing so much.
It's more health. It's more health quality than the overall game quality. But like if the air quality is below a certain level, Major League Baseball will cancel the games, and the games will be made up at later dates, if possible.
Because some players have asthma, some players have issues, with breathing. They're playing through it, and it could trigger it. I mean, you see that when they go to like Denver, They go to
high
they'll go
altitude.
and play at Corzell,
Or Mexico when they were playing in the Mexican series. That's
yes,
high
and
altitude.
if there's ever places, I mean, I went to Albuquerque. I didn't realize that Albuquerque's like 6,000 feet up in the or whatever meters, but 6,000 feet, it's higher than Denver, and I was like, wow,
exactly.
Not everyone can handle that. So it's what's going on? I'm seeing my name.
Yeah.
Oh, baseball and weather forecast. Yeah, so I'm gonna get a new thing. I'll be the weatherman. I'll figure this out. We'll
remember, this is a podcast. We got to put on many hats, guys. We got to wear different hats sometimes.
Well, to be perfectly honest, so I'll tell you. I was looking at the weather. Saturday's supposed to be 77, mostly sunny when I'm down in the game. And I got tickets that have an overhang, so if it is too sunny, or if it rains, but that's 77 is really good baseball weather. So I'm hoping for a really nice game, especially in the evening. The game starts later, so we'll see. Let's see what other
games. Oh well, no, I have one as well. I have one. It's not really a game that you have to watch. But the Chicago, man, awful today. The Cleveland Guardians. They actually had an interesting thing happen today. Jose Ramirez hit 3 home runs today. Congratulations to that. We'll talk about that a little next week. Cleveland is gonna be facing Houston, at home, and I'm saying that is a big series. For Cleveland. Cleveland has been pretty good. They just won a series with Minnesota, or tied a series with Minnesota, won a series with Baltimore, won a series with St. Louis, and I believe they just won a series against Boston as well. Or did Boston win today?
Boston
won. They won today. They won the series. So they won another series. So they're coming up and playing well. I think that series versus Houston is a good barometer. Like I said, Houston just won 3 of 4 in Los Angeles, then lost 3 of 4 to Toronto. So they're coming off on a low note. And like I said, Alvarez just got hurt, so that could be a big thing.
And then they follow that up with San Diego. And I know San Diego's not winning the games that they do, but they are a dangerous team to play anytime because they have the hitting that can happen. So it'll be interesting. We do have to talk a little bit about those home runs because one of those first home run was his 200th of his career. So that is
true. Yes, so 100%. Do you got any SPF at recommendations, Mr. Weatherman? For 70 degrees Fahrenheit, I don't think you need FPS.
So it has nothing to do. So you're in Canada. Come on. The temperature has nothing to do with how bad the sun is going to burn you. In the winter, you can get burned worse. So
don't get me started on temperature.
On the face, I will always recommend 75 or higher. Arms and legs, whatever you got to do. It's true. Temp what?
No, anyway, it has nothing to do with the temperature. SPF has nothing to do with the temperature, not damage.
But what I will say is that, and I normally I have it on me. I'm always okay with my bucket hat, to cover the face, put a hat on too. Make sure I'm a kayaker, so I gotta put the sunscreen on and the hat when I remember it. I've burned myself way too much, but because you get the reflection and the down, so you want to cover for both.
See, weather facts with Infested.
When I have it on, I can pull up a picture that I have at one point, and I'll put it up of me in that hat. But I'll do it after the podcast. I'll put it in the Discord. But yeah, no, that should be a good series to watch. Do you have a specific game out of those?
Do I have a specific game out of that series? Give me 1 second. Let me just double check the pitching matchups. Put you on the spot. Well, the pitching matchups, personally, Tristan McKenzie. He's only had 1 start this season so far in the major leagues. I absolutely love like the way he pitches, and he can be super good. So I want to see how he does against a good team. Like Houston. Houston does not have their starters listed so far, so we don't know. They also run a 6-man rotation, so we don't know who is going to pitch. In
That's
that
because
series
they
alone.
don't know who's going to pitch ever anyway.
Yeah.
Because their pitching hasn't been the
Well, they
best.
have the 3 starters on the IL, so like it's absolutely crazy. But at the same time, I think that's the best one. They should. Cleveland has been playing good enough baseball that they should make Houston work for it. But as we all know, Houston is a very good hitting team, and Houston could definitely win that series. But that's why I'm putting on the games of the week because of Cleveland's rise again, and that division is anyone's game. Minnesota is literally 31-31, so this division is absolutely up for grabs. Now, gonna get infested. A weather radar background, exactly. That's what you need. That's what he needs.
Well, hopefully this everything fine thing goes away, and we have a good couple series. So when your star player and one of your better pitchers that's been consistent, surprisingly, just he came and started pitching well, goes down. It's tough, but um,
Yeah, so I,
I
I honestly don't have any other games of the week. We got Tampa, Texas, Toronto, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Houston. We probably do need one from the NL because come on.
actually have so it may not be. It's going to be it'll be
Okay.
entertaining series.
Okay.
So, but I'm not going to say it's like you got to watch it because of records and stuff.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh Mets series this weekend should be pretty entertaining. So the Mets started hitting a little more. They did lose the series to why am I to Atlanta, but they are going into the bottom of the ninth up 1 run. So
okay, because if they get swept, they've lost 6 in a row. Because they also got swept by Toronto. The Blue Jays swept them in New York.
So as I just said that, Atlanta just tied it up in the bottom of the ninth, 10-10. So I don't want to say anything. That's a blown save actually for Robertson. I actually took him out, but I'm gonna lose this week in fantasy. My pitchers did nothing. I got beat up, So, but I was on a streak, so it was good for fantasy. Sometimes you got to lose one to win another 7. So, but we'll see what comes out of that. They might get swept. I was about to say,
I kind of agree. Honestly, I kind of agree. We also the Mets versus Pittsburgh is a good series. Pittsburgh was playing well. They actually took the division lead over Milwaukee. And then they lost the next 2 games to Oakland, and Milwaukee beat Baltimore. And I absolutely was not expecting that. But Milwaukee played good baseball, and earned themselves those wins.
And we'll get to see if Oakland actually is on a streak. They're going to be playing Milwaukee too, so it'll be interesting to see. But I'm looking at these run differentials, and I don't know if anyone in the National League is actually scoring runs, because I'm looking at like the NL East and the NL Central. Each of them have only one team. There's 2 teams that have a positive, and one of those teams in the NL Central is actually the last place team. The St. Louis Cardinals have a +1. So like
blowouts.
Is there pitching? What's going on? I mean, they're hitting, but it's
yeah.
And I'd like to actually see that. Maybe that could be another potential homework for our fan base here, the 3 people that are watching. How many has there been more blowouts this year? Has the speed of the game and the lack of shift caused?
Hold on. What are we calling a blowout? Are we using the definition of blowout? Because technically a blowout is a win or loss by 5 runs.
Nah, see, for me, 5 runs is still within striking distance, and maybe that's the problem, because we're so used to so many run swings.
Yeah.
I mean, that Atlanta game today, they were up.
So St. Louis in blowouts 5+ runs, is where you win or loss are 9-6 with 108 runs scored and 78 runs against. And in games that end 5 or more runs on either side. That is big. That is absolutely big. Now, St. Louis also went 15-13 in May. Very good improvement for them. But they've also gone 1-5 in June, and put them back in last place. So St. Louis has not been as good as we thought.
I'm just curious though, because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the run differential, and the
Yeah.
AL isn't as bad. So I want to know if this trend holds,
Mhm.
and the NL is this crazy
Mhm.
through the rest of the year, and the AL, what teams come out on top?
Yeah.
You know, does the AL just take it? Whoever what's the team
Yeah.
that the AL sends, are they just going to be better, or is there still going to be parity when you get to the top game? You know, type of thing. So it'll be interesting because, I mean, does that mean the AL just have better pitching?
Honestly, there's it's a little skewed. I think part of it is a little skewed, because of the awfulness of two teams in the AL. Kansas City and Oakland are both just bad. They're just both just bad. So
you're feeling that it's giving the rest of the teams in the AL a boost.
Yes, and also Tampa was absolutely good at the beginning. So their run differential went high and losing a lot less one-run games.
It's stayed stable. I mean, they're on a they've stayed at about that 130, 135 mark for a while. They went up to 140 run differential. But,
I remember that game.
Oakland's negative 200, so I'll do that. Kansas City does score runs though.
Yes,
it's not like they. They're not giving up as many.
325 still.
I mean, it's still a lot of runs, but they're not like. I mean, Oakland. If you score less than 5 runs a game against Oakland, what's going on? That's what I'll tell you. It's like your hitters need to be sent down to the minor leagues or something. I don't know. Because the 430 runs in 64 games. I mean, what is that? That's I don't even. Let me do the math real quick. That's 6.7 runs a game on average they've given up. Now, granted, that's not everyone. That's an average, but that's a huge amount of runs you're giving up. That's a lot of runs. You're not even giving your pitchers a chance.
It is. So speaking of blowouts, so Oakland is 2-19 in games where the result is 5 or more runs differential. They've won 2 by over 5 runs, and they've lost 19 by over 5 runs, by 5 or over. So they've scored 54 runs in those games and given up 203. So far this month, they've scored 30 and given up 35.
I mean, this month they've been playing better ball. I won't lie. Maybe it's because it's warming up, or they're starting to figure out how to play a little better because they, the players that they have maybe aren't supposed to be there, type of thing. But you give anyone a chance, they might be able to figure it out. There's a reason these people are professionals. We'll see. It's going to be a long season. I don't know if I have any other games to really go about. What I will hint, and I know we still have to finalize this, but we're working on a contest, and there will actually be valuables given away in this contest. So,
yes, we'll have a bit of information on that before our next one, because we haven't had time to actually talk about it since we brought up the idea.
We only talk to each other exactly on this day.
Yes.
If it's before or after, so
But if you guys have not noticed, we don't have a name for our podcast yet. Our podcast is called Talking Baseball with Roxanne Infested, and that's a pretty decent name, but it's not a name. It's not a name. We don't have a logo yet, because I didn't want to make a logo without having a name. So we're gonna open up something for you guys to help name us.
And and weather with Rocks and Infested isn't probably
Yes,
going to cut it.
it
either,
is. It is
so,
definitely not going to cut it. This is not the weather podcast with baseball.
I'm apparently going to change my name to baseball also because I
Yeah.
couldn't even say my own name. I didn't mess yours up. I messed my own
Of course.
handle up. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's that lack of communication skills that apparently I have. I get paid to talk at work too, which is really crazy. But but yeah, so I know this company, they have things that might give away, so we'll have a sponsor for the contest and it will be good stuff. So we'll figure it out. It will be open. I mean, it will be physical items, so it'll be open to the United States and Canada, is what I'll say. But we'll give you more details. But think about it, and we'll figure out how we're going to go ahead with that. But our goal is to, if we can squeeze it in, the All-Star time.
100%. And like always, guys, this podcast will be uploaded onto our YouTube platform. Right now, that is the only place you guys can see the podcast. If you guys missed the show, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. As always, the podcast will be uploaded on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. This will be a busy week, so this podcast will probably upload it on Sunday. But keep an eye out. We will also have a separate thing for our All-Star picks. Will be uploaded this weekend as well, so take a look at that if you missed our All-Star episode last Thursday. Thank you guys for being here as well. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the interaction. I really do like that. Me and Infested both love questions, either on our YouTube channel or live here on stream on Thursdays. Appreciate you once again.
And if the intern doesn't get the upload done, you can put it on an older one. A question, so it doesn't have to be
exactly. So
really need to.
we are gonna send this lovely show over to a friend of mine, guys. If you guys want to copy down the raid message, here you guys go. Here's the raid message in chat. Copy the top if you're a sub. Copy the bottom one if you are a follower. They're just coming back. They've had a rough little time the last few days. So we are gonna go show them some lovely love. And what?
Do you know third is spelt wrong on your redeem?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
It's an inside joke.
All right.
Come on, I'm a professional. I'm a goddamn professional.
Look, those are little details that sometimes everyone doesn't.
Oh yeah. How long have you been following me?
That's fine.
How long have you been following me, Infested? Since
February
2023.
For that bits for the podcast, so
Whoa! That was just suggested. Like what? This weekend? Last weekend?
It was like 3 weeks ago.
Okay, well, I have a large list. Okay, I apologize. You'll get that. I promise.
And I even gave you something to make fun of me with the Infested.
I did. Yeah, you did. You did.
Infested thing. So I can even have just Infested. Going. Right now it's not anything.
Oh yeah, I have something for that. It's on my list. Don't worry. I've been a little bit behind. Okay, guys. We're going to rate Oathie, guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Make sure you guys are here for 12 p.m., guys. We're going to be building tracks in Squad Fest at 5 p.m. Let's go. Peace, love.